it's almost hard to interrupt you guys because I think some friendships have been forged by the sound of the noise in the room. So what a fun. We were talking up here about just the joy of like coming in and seeing some of the same faces and getting a chance to get to know one another better. Is there anything better than friendship? I mean, the older we get, the more you appreciate the women in your life, that is for sure. We're also busy taking care of people that friendship is such a gift. Okay, well, I'm going to say a quick blessing on the food. Normally we put Gail up to this, but her mouth is full. And when I started talking, her face looked up at me like, I know, you were like, So I'll just kick us off tonight. Heavenly Father, thank you for this group of women and hearts and souls and for your mighty blessings. All of us are on a journey of either knowing you and following you or discovering you, Lord. And in those places, we just invite your presence and your comfort and your love and your grace. We thank you for the food tonight and the hands that made it and for Jill and the team serving it. It's just amazing to watch somebody with that gift of hospitality. And so, Lord, we invite you to be the honored guest tonight as we grow together, and we remember those who could not make it tonight, and just pray that wherever they are, they know that they are cared for and thought of. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right. I have to admit that when we start closing down on the fourth part of this, I always get so sad. So I'm going to be peppy tonight, but, I'll see y'all next Thursday at your homes for Thanksgiving. So I need some addresses quickly, and I want to know who has the best. All right, Terry says she's going with me to y'all's houses. How many people are coming with us? Because it's just kind of me and my little world. Okay. Oh, good. We're up to the 3 touring eaters on Thanksgiving. We can come up with some reason that you needed to invite us, I'm sure. So we were talking to Jill. Jill said she's figured out how to put 32 people at one ongoing table running through her house. And that her trick, in case any of you are trying this, is that you ask people to bring a side, but they put them in 2 smaller dishes so that you don't wait for the one dish to make it all the way around the table. I know. I'm like, I've never sat at a table with 32 people. I don't have 32 people in my entire family. If we brought first, second, third cousins, I mean, that just kind of blows my mind. So, all right, tonight we're on part 4. And I just want to celebrate what you guys have done. And Darcy, a.k.a. Vanna, is over here showing us. And we've done the listen and learn part of just thinking about, who am I, where am I, how do other people see me? And then we rolled right into current reality. Where am I in my life right now? Where am I in connection with where I want to be? And kind of analyzing those pieces of how I'm wired. And so we looked at the desired state, and in that desired state is, what's the dream that I want to dream? Where do I think I want to get to in my life? And as y'all saw, this is often a place where we all get a little anxious for some reason, because it's a little bit like, oh goodness, am I where I want to be? Is there someplace I'm supposed to be? And we just start rolling this through our head about the woulda, shoulda, coulda, what if, and am I doing this right, and how does this feel? And so I'll just remind you guys about the fact that we're all wonderfully and perfectly made, and that we were knit together the exact way that we're supposed to be, and there's no shoulda, woulda, coulda. There's nothing but peace and grace, and this is about dreaming and getting excited and stretching ourselves a little bit and feeling that place of what if, what could be, and hopefulness. And so going back to, our brain, if we're stuck in something or if we're anxious, if we can look at the world through the lens of hope and curiosity, then we can really solve just about anything. Because out of hopefulness comes so many options that are beautiful, and part of that is a hopefulness to be happy in where we are. So I read something this week that was good old BuzzFeed while I'm wasting time, and should have been doing something more productive. And if you're not familiar with BuzzFeed, they just collect lists of everything. So this one was a list of what's the best advice your therapist ever gave you. And the very first one was that when you're hard on yourself, stop and think, if I was sitting with a close friend, would I be this hard on her? Would she be this hard on me? And I was like, ooh, okay, a little shivery, because we wouldn't be on somebody else. And we know that they would give us more grace than we're giving ourselves. So I'll just share that with you all in reminder, because it was really good for me of getting that outside perspective. And so tonight, we're rolling through the final fourth part, and it's going to all be about goal setting and looking at kind of what is it that we want to do. What are the life balance goals that just keep us grounded every day? And then what would be something that you want to stretch for? If you think about stretching, it's to get your muscles to a new place. And there's a part of stretching that feels really good, and then there's a part of stretching that hurts, you know? And then there's that part where you pull a muscle that doesn't feel good at all. And so tonight, we're going to do the stretching that hurts just a little bit, but not pulling muscles. That's what we're here for. We'll be roaming around helping you think about the reality of some of your goals and how do you accomplish them. And as we've said before, clearly we love doing that, so ask us questions. So by the time we end up tonight, you're going to have a real look at what is your personal strategy and where do you want to go from here. And then we'll have some time to share them with one another, because the reality is that if we set a goal and we keep it to ourselves, it's got a very low likelihood of success. If we get a goal and we share it with other people and we put a vision board together and we draw it like we did last week and we tell other people, it goes up to 80% success rate, which really, when you think about it, is such common sense, but we don't think about it that way, okay? All right, so tonight the verse that we're looking at is one that it just, for me, brings this whole process together, that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the width and length and depth and height, to know the love of Christ, which surpasses knowledge, that you will be filled with all the fullness of God. And so I always want to acknowledge that we're all on different spiritual journeys, but this verse to me, it just doesn't leave anything out. You know, I mean, it is a total throw-in of how wide can you go, how high can you go, how deep can you go. I read an article recently about some of the black holes on Earth and how far down they go, and I'm not even going to try to tell y'all, but go look that up so you can have your mind blown away. You know, the stars in the sky have already died and burned away. We're just seeing the remainder of the fact that time hasn't caught up to the fact that they're gone. And so when we start thinking about just the vastness of the world around us, here's another one I read the other day, that they're finding that when a woman gives birth, there's a piece of the DNA of that child that stays in the woman's brain. How crazy is that? Yeah, so think about that. You have a whole different DNA in your brain if you have chosen or been blessed, or I know for some of us that's a hard topic, but, infertility, but let me say, in the honor and wowness of God, when we start looking and we see how big He is, it's unfathomable. So tonight we're going to dig into that and just know that this God that is this big and that is this grounded in love and full of grace and cares for you so much, that there's no goal that you could write down that He doesn't want to be a part of. He is there constantly for us and wants to be in relationship with us. And so our opportunity to respond to that is something that's new and fresh every day. All right, so I'm going to turn over to the Mrs. Bien. I still laugh. I shared with y'all that our client thought that I called her Darcy Bien as a pet name instead of her name being Darcy Bien. So we're going to share.
That's such a pet name.
Darcy Jelly Bean is going to share with us tonight.
It's just so funny that they think that's a pet name. So today is about goals, and I shared this. We're doing this same program with one of our clients in Maysville, Kentucky. It's super fun. We're having 10 of team leaders and shift leaders and executives in the same class. And, you get to this goal part, you get to that part about sharing it with everyone, and it does make you anxious, right? I mean, you're not sure. And I told him the story, and it reminded me when last year, we all got through COVID, and, do we exercise, do we not exercise, who knows? But I hadn't done a race in a long time, and I was going to do the flying pig combo with, queen bee that they had, because they combined it. But I didn't want to tell anyone because I wasn't really sure how fast I was going to be. And if you guys don't know me very well, that's sort of a thing with me. I kind of like to hit the goal that I want. One of my values is a little crazy. But so I didn't tell anyone. And I just was going to do this race just to get it because it was in my head. I wanted to do it. But I ended up mentioning it to my team on our Monday calls. Like, what are you up to? And I had said I just was training. I did a long run. It was really painful in there. What, you're running? I'm like, yeah, no big deal. Don't even show up. I told my husband, don't even come, please. Don't even bring the dogs. I don't know how I'm going to do. So, literally, don't. They're going to judge me. So,
Chris just said because she didn't want the dogs to know either that she wasn't going to have a good time. Yeah.
Exactly. They're very judgmental. So, here I am running the race, and I'm tired. It's like mile 10, and I'm thinking, it's a mile stretch going down. You go up through East Walnut Hills, and you come down that big, long road where nobody hangs out because it's just horrible. So I'm going down there, and I'm running, and I'm like, it's so great. I'm so glad I told no one to come, and, not glad about that. And then I've got my headphones in, and I look up, and they are there, Cyndi and Nancy and Jane. And I'm going to get tears thinking about it. They had a poster board, and they were screaming my name. I had my headphones in, and I just started bawling. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It was like, what are you doing? I cannot believe you're there. But I didn't want to stop because I was running. So I was like, I can't believe. Literally, I didn't stop. I did call them. I'm like, I can't believe you're here. And I will tell you that I ran the last 3 miles were my fastest miles. I mean, no, hands down. Hands down. And I looked because of them being there. And that was that's the catalyst and the energy, and my vulnerability was I didn't want them to know. I didn't want them to be there. And then when I saw them and they were there for me, it was just all I needed to hit that goal. And I did have a goal, of course, and I did hit it. But I wouldn't have without having them there with me. That's what we're talking about. This is about us sharing goals. So not that we feel judged by those goals. Who cares? We're judging ourselves. But because people are going to help you. They might tell you you're crazy, but they're still there to help you. We're all here to help each other. So I just remind you of that as we walk through this, that, set yourself these goals. Tell people the goals. We're all in community to build each other up, according to their needs. So that is our job today, is to get through that. And I remind each other, or remind us of this. This is another big one of our quotes that we tell people, is the name of our company is Stretch. And people always ask us, why do you say Stretch? Why do you call it Stretch? And we normally will put a rubber band on someone, right? And we're trying to stretch you to be more than you think you are, but we don't want you to break because it's not fun to break and it's not fun to tear. But if you take a rubber band and you stretch it, it will stretch a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But a lot of us just don't, it's uncomfortable a little bit. And so we really believe everyone has more potential than you think. That, we're normally self-limiting. We normally constrain ourselves. And so this is our goal. You have more potential than you think, but you will never know your full potential unless you keep challenging yourself and pushing yourself beyond your own self-imposed limits. And so that's our whole thing. It's stretch. Don't be afraid to stretch. Put yourself out there and think about it. And then, look to other people to help you. I know I wanted to just spend a little bit of time on this because I want to kind of talk you into why we think goal setting and plans are so important. And this is something that we tell, this is just, it makes sense, Cyndi said it, but you are 80% more likely to hit a goal if you have a plan. We tell that to companies all the time. And one reason is because you can look at it. I'll share my playbook, which I pull out every quarter. And I think it's healthy to have vision boards and have it there because we're just remind ourselves of that. And so I heard this quote recently, and I'm going to get it wrong. There's something, the connection between motivation and discipline is structure. So isn't that good? So it's good. So think about that. We talk about that all the time. Motivation is like, I really want to do it. And discipline is actually doing it and holding yourself accountable. But in the center of that is a structure and a supporting system to make it happen. And if you don't have that structure supporting system, you're just gonna not be able to do it. So just think about this. What we're trying to build is that supporting system, that supporting structure. Cyndi talks about that all the time. And this program, these tools, this connection you're making, this is your supporting system. This is your structure. And so, we want you to think about it that way. And so you have this tool. It looks something like this. It's in your book. I think it's towards the back. We're going to send this to you as a Word document so you can have it and you can use it. But we're working here. So we talked about purpose a couple of times ago, why you exist. We talked about vision last time, if you remember that, your desired state. We had some fun pictures. We had people helping people make pictures. That was great. We talked about values, which values are really our core beliefs, how we operate. We also, I believe we did the leadership core score in here, which is just an opportunity to reflect on how well you're living leadership. We did not do a personality assessment, but many times in a class like this, you would. Myers-Briggs or, Enneagram, DISC, PI, CI, Berkman. There's a lot. There's free ones out there. We do say that's really important to understand yourself, is to kind of do those. We've done them all. We like the Berkman. And then we also did the SWOT, if you remember that. Who had fun doing that? Woo-woo! So fun. So another current reality, strengths, what my gifts, my passion, what I'm good at. Weaknesses, those things hold me back. And then we went on the other side and said, what are those opportunities, all those things that I could do? And then what are the things that could get my way? And then we're trying to connect this SWOT with our vision, our desired state. That's what we're trying to do here. Where are we, and where do we want to go? And that's this connection with goals. So I'm just painting the picture for you. And we're going to talk today about two sets of goals. And we tell this to companies too. We think companies need and people need life balance goals just to stay balanced, right? When to say yes, when to say no, and accompany your weekly and monthly metrics, your KPIs. In life, it might be for me. I was telling John, I have a goal to come to church every week. During water polo season and swim season, I haven't been coming. It's red. I'm sort of lost by it, but I have my mom bring me a prayer book that I can read every day, which is kind of filling that need. But I know there's times in my life that I'm not getting there, but I have to find other things. So that's a life balance goal. Try to eat with my family once or twice a week, hang out with my friends. I'm going to Chicago this weekend. And so these are life balance goals. We're going to do that today. And these would be stretch goals, those things that make us uncomfortable. These should not make us uncomfortable. They should make us happy, but we don't always do them. That's the structure piece. And these are the ones that might make us a little uncomfortable. You with me? So this is the whole sort of playbook in one place. So that's kind of where we are in this goal section. And then this is just mine. I think this is sort of updated. See, this is yellow. It really should be red. Sorry about that. But, try to do these. I'm not doing great on project management support. But I try to update this about every quarter or once a year. And we have it for our company, and we look at it about quarterly. And we have one for our organization, too. Just something structure, right? Structure for us. So what we thought we would do in your breakouts is just for you guys to just talk about whatever part of the process you've learned so far. Just talk about. So, maybe you did the values and you got something out of the values. Maybe the purpose, maybe the vision, maybe the SWOT. So some of you are here for 1 time, 3 times. Joan, of course, is like our star student over there. If you are not sure about the homework, Joan's got it done. Thank you. But we just reflect on the process. Reflect on the last couple of weeks and just share your learnings. Is that fair for you guys to do? And the one thing I wanted to mention, it was just a reminder, Cyndi was talking about it, but Regina, right? Yeah. I love what Regina said we were trying to do, and it was just a good sort of reflection. This work that we're doing is not to dwell in the past. It's our past. We're not trying to dwell on it. We're just recognizing it. And we're saying it is what it is, and we can't change it, but we don't have to be defined by it. So the program is meant to be a hopefulness, to look at the future, to say, how do I want it to be? And I love that is that about what you said? It's about hope. And, at the end of the day, this is what we're doing. We all have stuff, right? And we just need to understand that stuff does impact us. But really what we're trying to do is say, how could it be better or different if I wanted it to be? And that's so just think about, just go around, we're going to give you about 10 minutes, and each of you can talk about maybe something that you got out of the program over the last couple of weeks, and then we'll get into this goal setting stuff.
One of my beliefs is that God is still revealing his lessons and his will. It's not all done, and it's not all in the past. There's parts of it that we learn every day.
Love it, yeah. And we have found that to be true in every one of these that we've had. We see God working in certain situations all the time. And it's just amazing for us to kind of watch you guys and where God puts you and what table and what discussions you're having. And that's awesome. That's really awesome. So, okay. Go and talk about whatever you may have gained out of it for the last couple of weeks. All right. Who wants to do some goal setting? Who wants to do some goal setting? So exciting. I know.
All right. I want to hear from you guys a little bit about what just happened at your tables. So,
and we are recording, so I'll run around like Vanna White.
There you go. We aren't recording.
Yeah, we are.
No, we record on Saturdays.
No, he said tonight.
Oh, say your name, your birth date, bra size, and what you've learned.
All right, does anybody want to share anything?
Yes.
Which is as smart as what
I'm starting at my
Regina
favorite
said.
table right here. Which one? Who's it going to be? Oh, look, a volunteer.
I didn't volunteer, though.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Anything that you got out, just anything from the table.
So what we were thinking is that how hard it was to actually sit down and come up with your life mission or your
the purpose.
life purpose. It was very, very hard, and a lot of us are organized and structured people, but we weren't intentional enough. At least me, I was not intentional enough to sit there and do this, because that's why it was so hard, because I had never sat down and really done it, and I think we should do it. So it was really hard.
It's hard. It just in a normal journey of strategy, the first thing you're going to get is values. It's going to come easier. The second thing you'll get is purpose, and the last thing you get is vision. The core ideology will come first, and then you'll figure out where that takes you with vision. So it will take you a couple of times to get purpose. You'll get values first.
All right,
Purpose will take a
because
few
she
times.
knows I'm going to do it.
Well, we talked about, you knew I would. We talked about goals and goal setting, and we were talking about how difficult it is sometimes to, once you create your goals to get there. And we talked about bridge goals, and it might be a good way to help you achieve your end state. So what else do we talk about? Lauren, I'll hand the microphone to you.
Well, it was kind of similar sentiment, but I think in a corporate world, we're used to discussing values. I was saying I was in marketing, so our core values are talked about all the time, and I support HR, so core values are talked about all the time, but you don't always take it personally. So I kind of rolled my eyes when I was like, oh man, I have to define this for myself. I do this at work like all day. But it was cool to narrow it down. I wasn't surprised by what they were. I think I'm self-aware, so I already knew what they were. But then to put it into a mission, it was just, we were talking about how impactful it was to, it's like I was saying it lives within you, but you don't say it out loud a lot, so you know it rings true to your heart, but then to have the opportunity to speak it out loud to somebody else, I got emotional a couple weeks ago. It was an emotional thing.
See, God was revealing himself.
A couple of us were talking about that the most fun thing I think we did was draw that picture. Like, I
Who
literally
doesn't love division?
I know, but I don't know the last time I drew a picture, and so that really clicked for me for some reason. It was hard for me to come up with a lot of words to put with some of these things, but I could very quickly draw 6 pictures of my desired state, and so maybe working backwards for me might be like one of the keys to that is draw my pictures and then put words back to my pictures or summarize my pictures.
No, that is like our brain will fight itself with words, but it will accept pictures.
Yeah. And she's already had certain things happen. I know. So. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Thank you, Darcy.
Thank you, Krista. So, no, but it's true. Your brain fights itself with words, but it will let you dream in pictures. Listen, we work with engineering companies and like accountants and construction, and we tell them they have to draw a picture. They literally I think they start crying. They're mostly men, and I really like that. But I'm like, I'm serious, you have to do this. But it always, you're going to dream better in pictures. So, I mean, vision boards, right? Take them out of magazines. Yeah.
All right, so we were looking at the SWOT, just how helpful it was to really see all of that kind of laid out together. So I think everyone at some point thinks about strengths and weaknesses, but not really like the threats that could come that you're not ready for, or like specific opportunities. Like I could have a really big goal list, but like trying to bucket it into a couple of really important things. And then just with the goal setting and the comment about 80% more likely if you tell people, and some of the reasons why maybe we don't tell people. And so some of it being that maybe you want to keep it to yourself until you have accomplished it, because then it feels like more of a success to share it. But I think for me, it's because some of the bigger goals I have are things that are going to be hard work, and maybe I know I need to do but don't want to do, and if other people know, I'm held accountable to that. And so I can definitely see where that can be important.
It's awesome. All right, does this table want to share?
That's all right. I hate seeing somebody that uncomfortable. Okay.
Okay. No, that's not that one. Well, we talked about several things. So yes, you're right. We did. We talked about several things. We went back to session 3 about the whys and how we not only used them to think about how we have created our own why and our own reason for what we're doing, but also to dream, because we talked about how do you get from that initial why do you do what you do all the way down to really why, but why do you do that, and why do you do that, and why do you do that? So we kind of just shared around the table different reasons, and Liz had shared with her team even before and kind of did the same exercise at work with her team. So that was interesting, and asked them when they started sharing their goals to say, well, why is that your goal? And why is that your goal? And why is that your goal? And it was satisfying for you to see them, and then we just kind of made that personal for us as well. It was very satisfying ourselves when we kind of flipped our page and we did it, and we realized really that first answer feels a little superficial. But if you really take time to think about it and write it down, which you really don't do unless you're in a session like this or a class like this, that pushes you structure. Thank you. So to really push each other and for you to push the rest of us to sit and think about it, we might have only gotten to that second or third why, but to get down to 8 or whatever level where we're going all the way, we really might not be as motivated to continue on as we are once we really know, like, oh, this is our core reason for doing what we're doing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Our purpose.
All right, do you want to do the other?
I know. All right, wait. Joan is going. Joan is up.
Joan. That Joan. There's another Joan's like, that Joan over there. It's clearly the other Joan. Joan number 2. Our star student, our homework, she gets 100. Talking your mic.
I've enjoyed it, and I've been here all 4 sessions, but I like the intentional. I think that it made us, it made me focus, be intentional, and really seriously look at what I've done at my age and what I can do.
Love it. It's awesome.
And that I'm on track.
Love it.
Yay! We would all agree.
And
Okay. All right. So we're going to move into goal setting. We're going to start with life balance goals. I did want to remind, this is just an important concept that we've brought up a few times, this igaji, and it really is that inner space where we are, the best that we can be, and it's using in whatever phase of life we're in. When we're doing something we're good at, and we love it, and we feel needed, we're in a happy place, right? I mean, really happy place. And some of us, look forward to getting paid for it, but we don't always have to, right? It's just when these circles are out of whack, when we're doing something we're good at but not really passionate about happens, can't do it for a long time. So let's keep that in mind. So these life balance goals are meant, there's a good book about being on a, forget what it was called Grace, but it was about being on a balance beam. And especially, women, I feel like we're always kind of teetering and trying to fall off. Because we don't say no. We don't really put structure around some of the things. And so, the goal is to make sure we prioritize the things that are the most important. So we don't get overrun by someone else's steering our life. If you remember that quote, if you never say no, someone else is steering your bus. So, I think that's what happens sometimes, that we feel lost in a world if we don't prioritize. So in the next section, we are going to think about these work life or just life balance goals. And then the next time we're going to come together and think about the vision and stretch goals. But some of them might be on there. This is something that I just like to share. Nobody cares, but it is a Dilbert. And who doesn't like a Dilbert? So how are you doing on your unspoken objectives? My what? I'm referring to the goals I have in my head that I've never mentioned. And how are those going? Dilbert says, I'm nailing them. Sometimes that's how we feel, right? I think my kids feel that way sometimes. But what we were trying to get to, one of the things we talk about all the time, have you guys heard SMART goals, right? Measurable, relevant, specific. Someone else could hold us accountable to them, even if we don't want them to. And so what we thought, and if you've done this before, we just came up, these are things that Cyndi has used a lot. But we thought about, you can change these categories to whatever categories work for you. But we have this faith, spiritual category, family and friends, work or finances if that's something important to you, and then psychological, emotional well-being here. And so if I'm following this process, these are my areas, and an activity is just an activity unless I put a metric to it. So we're trying to say it's smart when you put a metric to it. So just saying go to church is great, but I could go to church 3 times a year or 3 times a month. So we're trying to actually put that metric on it just to hold ourselves a bit accountable to what we want. And these are all goals you set for yourself, not your neighbor. Chris, you can't set Krista's goals, but maybe you can. But that's what we're trying to do here, is really try to do this on our own. And this is one of mine. I do try to read the Wall Street daily. Sometimes I'm just looking at the front page, and I call that good enough. It's a lot of pictures sometimes. So that is what we'd like you to take about 10 minutes and then maybe share. So just maybe put 1 in each area. It's a lot. And so we want you to practice this. You're not going to get it done. These aren't meant to be done. Just practice it. All right, guys. Who is ready to stretch?
Whoop, whoop.
Woo-woo! Stretch goals. All right, here's our gummy. So these are life balance goals. These are those daily, weekly, monthly. If we're focused on these, we're balanced. We might jump off get off that balance beam, but we're where we want to be. Okay, those are life balance goals. Make sense? So the next one would be stretch goals. Stretch goals are what the back table over there needs to be figuring out. You girls back there. They all 3 retired within the last 2 years. One's about to, one sort of, the other is 18 months in. And they're all like, what are we doing in our next season? Like, you work for 30 years, 35 years. Think about that's your current reality, and then your desired state is based on that reality, right? That's huge. When you retired, your current state is now discombobulated. So to say I'm going to go from a discombobulated current state to a new desired state is absolutely incorrect. You cannot do that. You're not going to step, change, jump into a great new retirement. I'm just going to tell you. You're going to have to get in your retired state and hang out for a bit and get bored, eat a lot of food, hang out with your friends, get bored, more boredness, less purpose, or, just getting your new reality. And then once you're in that reality, then you're going to be able to figure out, okay, what is my next desired state? Now, I do agree they were given a recommendation to put together a bucket list. Put together a bucket list, put together an opportunity list while you're still in your, current season. I love that. I love bucket lists. That's opportunities. What are all those opportunities? But I don't consider bucket lists a desired state. Bucket lists are just opportunities, all the things I could do. Some of them might not make me that happy. They might just give me a little high here, it's a bucket list is a bucket list. I love bucket lists, but I don't necessarily consider that a desired state. So I would just, wrestle through it, come up with your bucket list, get in your current reality, and then start dreaming with pictures, right? Start dreaming with pictures. Now, what I might suggest, I want to call you table number 9, like the wedding singers. You single people. Is you might put a stretch goal to give yourself all of 2023 to create your bucket list. Like, don't think I'm going to create a desired state. Like, just create your bucket list. Like, take 6 to 12 months to come up with those opportunities. You got a long time. So make a stretch goal to say, over the next 6 months or year, I'm going to come up with 10 things I want to go do in the next 10 years. That's a stretch goal. That's not like a life balance goal. It's a stretch goal. So over the next 6 months, we're going to come up with 10 things that I want to go do in the next 5 or 10 years. That's a stretch goal. A stretch goal helps us get to a desired state, but it makes us a little uncomfortable thinking about it. My stretch goal for a long time was writing a book, and then I wrote it, and then I was like, oh, this isn't exactly what I wanted. Then I had to publish a book, and that was even harder than writing it. But you have to first write it to publish it, right? But that's a stretch goal. I was really hard. I had to carve out time. Nobody was really gonna hold my hand unless I asked them, but it made me super uncomfortable, super uncomfortable. I felt very stretched. So stretch goals are meant to create a little bit of tension, and they are meant to kind of put us in that place where we really want to be, but we're not really sure if we can get there. And they might be just a bridge goal to get there. So, for table number 9, the bridge goal is just your bucket list. It's not going to be your desired state yet. You can't do that. Just give yourself a break on that. But come up with a bucket list. That is a stretch goal. So what we thought we would do in the next just 10 or so minutes is just come up with maybe one stretch goal each. Just think, now if you were here and you did the visioning exercise, if you did the desired state and you have those pictures, that's where I say look at that desired state, and then maybe look at your SWOT, your strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and try to connect some of those things with the stretch goal. Maybe you're connecting improving a threat, or maybe improving an opportunity. That might be a stretch goal for you. Getting my mom out of an apartment so that she, was less rent dependent. Well, it took me a while, but I bought her a condo, and now she just pays me whatever she can pay. Phew, now I don't have to worry about that. But it took a while, right? But it was a threat that I knew was a stretch goal for me. It took me a while, but I got there. So a lot of times stretch goals might be protecting against a threat or an opportunity or a bridge towards your desired state. Does that make sense? Yep. All right. So we love to do this. So if you need any help, I love to give people goals. Table number 9, take about 10 minutes and maybe share it within your table, and we'll walk around and just be nosy. So what I wanted to point out is, not that anybody, again, cares. If you go through towards the book, there is a page that says playbook, and then there is, again, I've reminded Chris, if only she reminded us to put page numbers on it next time, we will send this document out as an attachment to the email, so you guys can have it. I think we can there's a playbook. Keep going back. It says playbook. It looks like this. Keep going. Playbook syllabus. This is where you could write all of this stuff in one place. And we are going to send this to you. And then you can see the next page where you could actually take those stretch goals and have strategies on how to complete them. Like one person was going to do a 10K. So she is going to have a strategy to walk 3 times a week. And she's also going to have a strategy to find a friend to walk with. And then the next one is to buy clothes to walk and tennis shoes. And shoes. But that's the strategy for her to do her 10K. So, okay, buy the clothes first and cool tennis shoes, and then get a friend, and then the third one, start walking. Okay, thanks for that. All right, so those are things that our friend in the back, who's going to do a 10K next year, she already committed, is going to do to make that happen. And then the rest of this is Cindy's calendar planning, where if you wanted to be, if you're someone who'd like to see these things in a calendar, we just gave you these as just examples. Some people find them healthy, or helpful, healthy, and healthy. And so that's that. And our goals can only be reached through the vehicle of a plan. There's no other route to success. Pablo Picasso, who knew? All right, so that's our program. Thank you very much. And I will tell you that we believe feedback is a gift. And Gail and I were talking, if you guys, we're not going to make you give us feedback right now. That's a little awkward. But if you do have any feedback for us on the program, right, would it be better if we did it more often? We know we need page numbers. That's clear. It's never gets old. And but if you have any other feedback, we are open to it. If we do it again, we'd love to. But let us know. You can email us or just tell Gail.